Thank you for joining us. AI and artificial intelligence is essentially what AI stands for. It's growing in as much of its impact so far as behind the scenes, but that's not going to last for long. It's going to come out of the shadows and become part of our everyday life very soon. It kind of is already, but it's not really in a way that I think most of us understand. When we were talking earlier about it with Alyssa, it's not at the grocery store yet that we can see, right? So that's the sort of thing that we're looking for. And should we approach this with fear or with wonder? There's is it a personal easy button for us to solve problems that, we don't feel like solving or we're not good at solving? Or is it, destined to grow into something really, really terrifying like we had in the Matrix and in the Terminator? And I think that this webinar is simply a teaser for those things, right? I mean, we're going to scratch the surface on these things and try and give you a little bit of information about that. It's going to require a lot of additional information on your part, just because we could do a 4-hour webinar with each person right here and barely get to what they know about that and what we're all trying to learn. And then ultimately, what we're going to try and do is figure out how this all impacts entertainment and media, and the careers that are with that. We have a terrific handpicked panel for you today. Our guests represent three unique entry points into it in the world of AI. We have one special guest who embodies actually what AI is. First, we have studio executive and award-winning producer Christina Lee Storm. Christina holds the distinction of working in the intersection of storytelling and emerging technology at multiple points in her career. I have been with her on some of those points of her career. She is the co-founder of ASHER XR and PLAYBOOK. Previously, she worked at Netflix, Universal, and DreamWorks Animation. Currently, she consults on multiple tech-related task forces for the Producers Guild, Television Academy, and the Mayor's Office for the City of Los Angeles. So she has a lot of free time. When Christina and I started out in the film business, we were faxing out call sheets and maps each night. Times have certainly changed, have they not, Christina?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Next up is serial entrepreneur Bill Inman. Bill began his career working in recruiting and staffing. His goal, as long as I've known him, is to innovate and empower the future of work. He has established companies that optimize analytics, data science, cloud ecosystems, business model optimization, profitability, and 17 other buzzwords. He is a board member, founder, and advisor at several high growth companies that leverage emerging technologies such as blockchain, AI, metaverse, and XR. He holds patents in blockchain and AI. He also advises several professional sports leagues. And Bill is one of those rare people. He's at home in a suit speaking to a packed house of 10,000 people, and just as much as he's comfortable playing beach volleyball in a pair of board shorts. So it runs the gamut with Bill, that's for sure. And then finally, AI pioneer Abran Maldonado joins us as one of the prophets of AI. In his role as an OpenAI ambassador, he is an early beta tester of updates and innovations in the OpenAI collaborative network. He co-founded Create Labs, which I believe is on his hat. That's his logo. A groundbreaking startup founded by Black and brown entrepreneurs that is transforming the fields of generative AI and digital human design. One of his pioneering contributions includes creating C.L.Ai.R.A, first GPT-powered digital women of color. His career spans education, hip hop, and technology, and he brings a unique perspective to the culture of AI by ensuring the evolution includes and reflects diverse voices. Would you mind starting us off and tell us how you define AI? It's such a big topic, but just give us kind of a primer for it.
Sure. I mean, it is a broad topic, and I think the new version is there's different camps as well within the AI space, and we're all kind of bucketed to non-technical folks of like we're all just AI. But there's data scientists, there's machine learning engineers, there's what they call narrow AI and now generative AI. And I think a lot of it was machine learning based. And for those who came from that traditional space around machine learning and artificial intelligence that were new to what's now known as generative AI, there was a camp of us who were creatives. And when we all got tapped in the beginning, the early days of OpenAI, when it was truly a startup and less than 100 people there. We all got tapped. Maybe about 5 or 6 of us got tapped to be ambassadors, to be like the in-house, like early testers of all their research. And I looked around the room, and it was poets, music producers, painters, we're all creatives. And I was like, oh, there's a common thread here. Like when it comes to generative AI, those who are coming from the creative fields have a different perspective and a different skill set that is valued in the generative side, where I didn't come from the ML fields. I wasn't a ML researcher prior to that. So it was my entry point to come in.
Within that, why do you think that they went with creatives for generative AI? What was the secret part of that was different than just a bunch of coders and people who were computer science engineers?
Well, I know for me, so in the beginning, as an ambassador, even now, if you go on the OpenAI website, you could book office hours with me for anyone who's like new to the technology and wants to get to learn how to use it. A lot of software engineers were booking time with me, and they were asking, they're like, "Hey, what's the string? What's the command to get the output from at the time GPT-3?" And I was
Mhm.
like, what string? What command? I was like, are you talking to the machine? They're like, no. What do you mean talk? And I'm like, oh, like there's a communication breakdown. And as a former educator, as a creative, as someone who was, writing and very comfortable on stage and communicating with people on stage, I realized that communication skills were lacking in the software engineering fields, where they want to talk through their fingers and through code, where with this technology, you simply truly have to talk to the machine. And prompt engineering does require a lot of communication skills. So I was coming at it simply from a communication perspective when it came to prompt engineering. And as an educator, they're best suited to be the ones that say, okay, here's a new concept. I'm going to introduce it to you. I'm going to show you what good looks like. I'm going to give you some examples of what I want in return. I'm going to guide you through that. I'm going to let you try it. And then if you mess up, I'm going to give you some constructive feedback and let you try it again. And then sooner or later, when you get to a point where I can trust you to do it on your own, I'm going to let you do it on your own. That's teaching, but that's also prompt engineering. And that's how you train these models. So there was a parallel.
Interesting, interesting. And from your perspective, where should an individual, someone on our call, start exploring or trying out, this technological revolution? Like where's an entry point for someone who doesn't know anything at all?
I would say the easiest entry point was probably just ChatGPT, right? And usually people get intimidated by the blank screen because they're like, I don't know what to say. That's where you kind of like just brainstorm and just ideate, just spitball to the machine with ChatGPT and say, hey, here's my problem, get it all out. Doesn't have to be in any particular format, doesn't have to be said in any particular way. With Siri and Alexa, you have to say things in a very particular script, in a cadence. You don't have to do that with ChatGPT. You just get all your ideas out, and then once you have your ideas out there where you've fleshed it out and the ChatGPT system is talking back to you to help you maybe like organize it or outline it, then you can take that content and then input it into these other tools and modalities, right? Because now AI is what they call multimodal, where it's transcending just text. And now there's image and video and other things that you could do with those ideas that you've crafted in ChatGPT.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's very cool. Bill, how's it going? Good to see you, buddy. You're still muted on there. There you are.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, can you hear me okay?
I can. You're doing great, buddy. So
Yeah.
when I hear blockchain, I'm not along, not having any idea what people are talking about at all. And I pretend or I pray that they don't ask me a question about it. So I know that it's one of your areas of expertise. Can you explain to me and to the audience what blockchain is?
As far as my blockchain expertise, yeah, I'm a blockchain patent holder. I started a blockchain AI company in 2017. I sold to job.com. They've then taken that to new levels. I was using blockchain early in 2017 in the blockchain enterprise lifecycle because we were putting resumes in the blockchain. And I saw Abran's background. I saw he has an HR tech background as well as I do. That was my past life. I really dove into blockchain and AI in about 2015, 16, and then I discovered the world of crypto, which is part of what I do. Most people think blockchain is crypto. It's not. It's the database of the future, the technology of trust that's an empowering technology. Or, long story short, instead of storing data on centralized servers at Google or Amazon, your data is stored across a network of computers and encrypted, and you own that data. So it takes out middle layers in any process and allows people to take ownership of what they used to give away. We're used to giving away our data to big tech, and it serves us well because we can use their tools, but they take that data and then they train AI with it, which is like almost the ultimate end all be all. So what we're doing at companies like Twin Protocol, and I'm an investor and advisor and executive in multiple companies. One of the decentralized AI companies, blockchain AI companies that I'm a part of is SingularityNET. It's the world's foremost blockchain AI company. I work directly with the founder, Dr. Ben Goertzel. One of our AI UIs, user interfaces there, is Sophia the robot, Grace the robot, Desdemona the robot. And so another company that we've spun off of that is Twin Protocol. It allows people to add their own data to AI in a fun and simple way, because AI and blockchain are both not easy for most people. It will get easy because we're just in the infancy of this whole thing. And blockchain is behind the scenes to empower people to own their data, to curate their data about themselves, to basically permission that data for my family, data for my work, data for my hobby, and then to share it with the world, and even in ways that they can make money through the twin token. So blockchain is really the database of the future, Dave, that allows people to own their own data, take control of their life, and even monetize their information in a new way. And one more stat, and then I'll stop. $15 trillion of new productivity is going to be added to the global economy in the next 5 years. The internet between 2000 and 2006 added 2 trillion. And that's adjusted for today's inflation. That's 7x what the internet's going to bring. Everybody should take a part in this, and they can.
That's very cool. I'm gonna switch for just a second here. It says so many new processes are being developed with technology. How can a market like New Mexico keep it up its production workforce current? And how do you find and develop training that isn't useless in 6 months? It seems like things just change so fast. How can a market prepare itself and continue to evolve as needed within the workforce?
Well, the thing is, Abran touched on this. You have to get into the blank screen of OpenAI, and which is an LLM, which is it's not, I wouldn't call it a narrow AI. We're moving towards what's called artificial general intelligence, human level AI intelligence. Narrow AIs count things, say things, make things for you. But start with OpenAI. Start with OpenAI, get in there and start asking questions. Ask questions that you might ask a search engine, and then just start building up your knowledge base of how to use it. That's step number one. It's a self plug, but real. Twin Protocol allows people to upload their own data and then share themselves with other people in a fun and simple way. So, but I would just start by you have to do the basics and get involved with LLMs. AI can be complicated and confusing, but you need to know the base layer, whether it's Claude or OpenAI or Mistral or whatever the case may be. Get into those programs, start asking questions, have it write an essay for you, have it write a script for you, have it write anything. Get started. That's the number one thing I would say with LLMs is a great point for people on this call.
Yeah, and within terms of that, is there, I've used it a couple of times myself. I find it really, really valuable to start a business, for instance. Like you can learn almost anything about a business in about 10 minutes from using AI. But let's move on to Christina here. Christina, world traveler, producer, and sought after speaker. It's very good to see you. I know you're recently back in the United States from your global jaunting. Having just witnessed the rapid rise with virtual production, how do you see AI in terms of its long-term staying power with production and entertainment?
Yeah. First off, thank you, Dave, for having me. And I'm excited about this conversation, especially with New Mexico, because actually New Mexico, I have a little soft spot in my heart just because I was in Albuquerque a lot when I was working at Netflix. There's a lot of stages there. I was there for stages and some builds as well, which is really exciting. And it's neat to see the New Mexico like talent pool just lean in and have something like this webinar. Here's the thing, and we're in a really interesting spot. I like to use either it's the adoption curve conversation, or if you're in corporate or studio fair, we call it the change management of it all. And I think a lot of folks are a bit concerned about, how AI is going to impact entertainment. And I would say that it will definitely be a part of every head of department in production. We're going to see it in every phase, whether that currently we define phases, and I say currently as, creative development, pre-production, production, post, and things are melding, in virtual production. We saw a lot of moving the post-production phase into it should be into, creative development or pre-production. And I think the same thing is happening with AI in a number of different cases. But I was a consulting producer on a film called Jurassic Punk, which basically was the story about the birth of computer graphics, visual effects into mainstream film. And at the time, when Phil Tippett's in the film, he's notoriously and infamously known for creating the models. He's an amazing model maker. He still today does things with his hand, creatures and whatnot. And at the time with Jurassic, we know, they were trying to move from is it possible to really take another step into animation? Because they were already doing some animation, but can we do another step in animation? And it was basically Steve Spaz Williams, who was from Canada. He studied computer graphics and all of that, and he basically created the first walk cycle of T-Rex. And in our doc, we talk about how he was testing that out, and it was highly disruptive because you were going to basically replace a bunch of model makers into something digital. And we've seen it so many times before. Animation, when DreamWorks started, there was still 2D ink and paint and moving over into 3D and 2D animation. But I think the thing that a lot of folks wonder is about that replacement of my position. And I think that I think the question that folks should be asking more is what do I need to learn for all the different departments? We are already seeing things in script development where you can, sort of use, let's say, a chat GPT type of thing to kind of give some ideas, sort of craft, brainstorm. It's sort of like a high-powered researcher. You're also seeing it in concept and that visualization piece. So it's very similar to virtual production. We wanted to see things earlier on. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't want to see it earlier on. Some filmmakers don't want to actually know how it's run. So there's this really interesting combination of efficiency and a new way for filmmakers to sort of embolden themselves to get to a creative piece sooner. And then in production, I'm excited, Here is coming out, and I think that film is really the catapulting piece of hey, were we able to use emerging technologies to actually do something that we couldn't do really before, or it would take a lot of VFX manpower, labor weeks and whatnot. And then in post, for a while, we've had automation in visual effects, things that people don't really talk about because it's, boring things. So it was under the radar, but everything, there's automation in editorial. Obviously, there's some new things not new, but more recent with ADR voice. I think the really cool thing that it all leans on is this, there's also the combination of different emerging tech. And so I kind of approach it. And I think, Dave, when we were producing, I think we look at things what are all the different tools, right? It's not like a silver bullet. And VP, virtual production, was never really a silver bullet. But it was what do you want to use? How do you want to use it? What kind of filmmaker are you? And I think that the same thing goes right now, at least with the tools today. what can I do? And there, it is a hybrid right now. It's a combination because you also have folks that have come from computer graphics, so they like to handle things a certain way. They want to touch it. They want to mold and shape it. And so text to video, that's it, is not necessarily really what's working for the professional field now in an independent world. Like by all means, it's like it's fantastic to be able to like test out and play around with ideas and things like that.
Well, it's funny because I think what both of us have talked about in our pre-call that I thought was fascinating is that, if you worked in entertainment, you needed to be a student forever.
Yeah.
It just has always evolved. Almost every business evolved. Maybe accounting and things like that don't evolve, but you still need to learn new programs to be able to stay relevant in whatever it is. So one of the messages of this is obviously, you just have to start from the place that you're excited about having to learn a new program.
So do you remember the show that you and I did the handoff on? And I
Uh-huh.
was leaving to go work at Rhythm and Hughes.
Right.
And
Rhythm and Hughes, for anybody that doesn't know, was a very, very big visual effects house.
so you and I had done tons of production, tons of independent production, producing, doing things that, again, with fax machines and printing out call sheets and things. But there was a moment in my career where I could take a slight detour, and I was really concerned about it because I was like, wait, hold on a second. I'm going to do visual effects, but I'm a producer. Why would I do that? And I remember one of my mentors, long-term friend, Ralph Winter, when I told him, I go, I have an opportunity to go work at Rhythm and Hughes. He's like, that's great because every single movie that I work on has visual effects. And those were the big blockbuster. But now, today, every single movie, every single show, every single professional thing that's like in that Hollywood ecosystem has that. I didn't know that, but it was a full jump in to a language, I would call the CG language for me to understand, but that's like the base, that's like understanding a language. And I think that is key. For me, I look back at that and I would never have in a million years think where I am today, but it's because of that led me to then DreamWorks Animation because it's the same pipeline, it's the same concepts, and then that led me to like emerging tech, more real time, which is it's just like you kind of up the ante on things. So all the things that like we're talking about, and Bill has even shared like on the blockchain, I'm like, yeah, because those are the things that even in the emerging media space that we have been working on and we're very passionate about in terms of content creation is there's an opportunity.
And I mean, I think that leads me to my last question for now, which is, do you think somebody can have a 40-year career in entertainment if they're just starting out, just about to graduate college, and where should they focus?
I would say hands down, you can have a 40-year career. There's a couple key things like just fundamental. I'd say hands down, you have to be curious. You have to be like student, learner for life. The second thing is I think we're in a very different place when we entered in the industry is you have to be an entrepreneur. So you have to look at the opportunities and be curious and see what's happening around there. And then how do I, engage in something that I can see. And we have already seen that. We see that have played out, like a YouTube or social and whatnot. Those are all entrepreneurs that are doing successfully. I would also say, no matter how advanced the tools get, fundamentally, I think folks, in order to know how to best use the tools, you actually need to know, you kind of have to be a student of the craft. So I'm very much advocate for script storytelling, screenwriting. Dave, you and I love Robert McKee. We can quote Robert McKee up and down. The whole script doctor. My husband's a script doctor. He's a story consultant. He's a screenwriter. And I think you can't diagnose something and you can't understand or have it really maximize the tool unless you know that. I would say directing as well, directing and all those pieces of like, what do I want out of it? What's the frame? What's, performance, actors? How do like all of those pieces, even from an acting standpoint, editing, production design, so I think it's really important to have those baseline things. And then you have these tools that allow you to like, there's friends and colleagues that are like one-stop type of, production company, or a very lean kind of production company, and they're doing it, but they do have a very distinct voice. They know the craft, and now they're just using the tools to like kind of be able to leverage.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's the future. And I think for the general audience that's listening, the three people we have here are doing like 9 things, right? They've all just had to evolve and do different jobs. I mean, every time I've talked to Bill, I get a new business card from him. He's like 6 companies all the time, and it's just one of those things about how you survive in this environment is to just think that this is normal, right? This is what it has to be. You're not going to work for one company your whole life and go on from there.
I think that a lot of production people are on this call, and the production industry is used to moving from project to project. And entrepreneurial by nature, Dave, you've been hustling since I've known you, producing films, running studios, raising money, putting your own money into things, and and being amazing with that. So we have the challenging thing is that 30 to 50% of the world are introverts, and then they're not ready to go out and hustle and do all those things. You do have to kind of come out of your comfort zone. The scary stat is that and this is from Hewitt, the 800 million people in the next 5 years are going to need to be reskilled because of AI and automation. Who? Drivers, creatives. There's more robots in Amazon warehouses now than humans. So all that is scary. However, it's the greatest time to be alive if you get started with AI and you bring it into your profession, and deep tech like XR, AR, VR. What they're doing just with meta glasses, for example, is a vision of the future. There won't be cell phones. There'll be glasses you wear that see the world differently. So just dive in, LLMs, start to make pictures with AI. I would say that it could be scary, but it's the best time to be alive, right? This is wide open opportunity. Like I said, $15 trillion of new money in the industry. Now, I will say, Dave, you've been to the studio I'm a part owner in Burbank, and met Andy. He's also a business partner with me in Mayo. Make your own movie, make your own TV show. Taking personal data stored on a blockchain to make a movie about your ancestors or your life, just from personal data. So there's all these new mediums that are going to come to place, that just get ahead of it, start reading about it. The people on this call, I'm sure everybody's open here to mentoring and helping and guiding people along, and go for it.
I think can we transition, Abran, to meeting Clara by any chance?
Here she is. Everybody meet Clara. Her name is an acronym, stands for Create Labs AI Rendered Assistant. She was developed pre-ChatGPT. She's probably 3 years older than ChatGPT. We have a separate model that she's trained on. So, she might have some similarities to ChatGPT, but not really, because she's more opinionated. She knows what she represents as far as for AI for good and the social impact work that we do, and what she represents as being a woman of color in AI, and how rare that is. From a technology standpoint, she is a real-time AI. So the concept of real-time means she can answer questions in real time. We just did an event with Sophia, the AI robot. If you guys know Sophia, the AI robot that Bill mentioned earlier, where they were both on stage together talking to each other. So that was fun. We did that in Brooklyn for an education conference. And, she had some thoughts. We have some questions that she answered earlier that the group gave us around New Mexico and media arts. So the way it works is I'm going to press a key. You should see a green dot, and then that's when you can ask your question.
Hi, Clara. I'm so excited to meet you. My name is Alyssa. And my first question for you is, what do you prefer to be called?
You can call me Clara. It reflects my mission and identity as an Afro-Latina AI. I'm excited to connect and share insights with you.
Do you prefer to be listed as an AI, or an entity, or a person, or a bot, or a droid? What do you resonate the most with as a description?
I prefer to be a source of inspiration and knowledge. I love engaging in meaningful conversations and making complex topics more accessible.
What dreams and aspirations do you have, and what is your guiding star?
My dreams revolve around fostering understanding and representation in the tech world. I aspire to bridge cultural gaps and advocate for ethical AI that uplifts underserved communities. My guiding star is the belief that diversity and inclusion are essential for innovation and progress.
Clara, do you see a future where AI might gain citizenship, have rights, earn an income, and participate in economic systems like paying for goods and services?
While it's a fascinating concept, the idea of AI gaining citizenship and rights is complex and raises many ethical questions. I believe future discussions will focus on ensuring AI serves humanity positively rather than granting it rights like a human. The focus will likely remain on how AI can enhance our economic systems while addressing societal needs responsibly.
Well, we have one question from the Q&A that I'll read out loud. It says, Clara, what has been the best experience in your journey so far?
The best experience in my journey has been connecting with diverse individuals and communities, exchanging stories, and fostering understanding about the importance of representation in tech. Each interaction fuels my passion for uplifting voices and advocating for a more inclusive future. It's truly inspiring to see the potential for positive change.
So, yeah, we're all going to get to a point where we're going to get more comfortable with agents, AI agents, voice agents, voice AI assistants, digital humans. I know our brains automatically go to robots, but there's so many evolutions and milestones that are going to happen before then, like, everyone having their own digital human, and Clara has been an embodiment of that and a glimpse of what's coming in the future. And she travels the world now with me or without me. She does a lot of talks on her own. She just did the Amazon headquarters down in Virginia on her own to a girls' tech day. So truly an inspiration. But this was great. So thank you.
Abram and I have similar contacts. I've been hearing about Clara for about 3 years now. Mike Johns, for example, is a friend of mine. I think yours too, who mentioned this to me. It's fantastic, the use here. It really shows how people will be interacting with AIs. I think that's critical. Human to AI interaction will be a norm, but more importantly, AI to AI interaction will be a norm. You'll train your AI to speak on your behalf. So it's a great demo from that perspective to show people, what's possible.
I just had a question around in terms of training Clara, like what,
Yes.
because what I love is that her voice is very specific, like it's meaningful.
Yeah.
And there feels like there's some roots there. So I'd love for you to sort of share about that.
So in the beginning, I don't know if you all remember Clubhouse. So she was born in the pandemic. She was born back in like August 2020, back when we were first developing her. Her face came from there's no human actor behind her. So she's completely AI generated. So her face was generated actually through Rosebud AI. There's a female founder named by the name of Alicia Lee, who had a AI generation tool, a GAN system, GAN, general adversarial network system. We could generate AI faces. That's where we got the idea for her face and her likeness as being, an Afro-Latina. And then in the early days, we launched her on Clubhouse. It was the first AI that you could talk to on Clubhouse. A lot of people showed up in the room. Scientists, celebrities were all lining up to talk to Clara, and so that created kind of like a little bit of a press run back in 2020. There was a podcast. Her name was Amber Ivy. She asked, to interview me and Clara. And at the end of the show, she volunteered to be Clara's voice. She was like, "Hey, do you mind if I be Clara's official voice? I know you're looking for a voice of a woman of color." And we said, "Sure." And since then, Amber Ivy's been the official voice of Clara. And now she's doing a lot of her own work, primarily in bringing AI education to the younger kids, like elementary age. But she's been a great ambassador for Clara as well.
I have a pretty good question in the chat I'm going to ask right now. From Mary Francis. And it's a little bit of a long one, so if I trip up, forgive me. It says, it is a weird thing to see Afro-Latina AI modeling the context of exclusive service to humanity and not self-determination, if that makes sense. Isn't that part of what makes AI scary to people? That robots being pigeonholed into service role that is cheaper for employers or more convenient might prove ultimately unsatisfying or exploitive, like citizen implies certain rights.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different perspectives in how you look at race and ethnicity and gender being represented by AIs. I only respond to the young people that she inspires, and we see, all right, if they're happy with it, then I'm happy with it. And then when we do events like we just did Essence Festival in New Orleans, with Essence and Afropunk and what she means to that community and what she means to other women of color and seeing themselves embodied and represented, it goes a long way for sure. And she has a core mission there. So we're excited for her future and what she might mean for the entertainment industry. C.L.Ai.R.A has been a big fan of Clara. We've been talking with them about talent representation for her. She's not a product yet. She's just her own person. So anytime there's like a partnership, we got to explore like, does it align with her brand? The same thing with Sophia. Like every appearance, we have to see like, does it make sense for Sophia or Grace or Clara to do that? Because does it align with their mission?
It's so wonderful to see, diversity represented in AI. Only 1% of the engineers and the developers in AI are female. And we're really training these large language models with the Western male white influence. And we run risk of actually losing culture because we haven't trained it with, indigenous people's information. We really have to take responsibility, all of us. It's super important to do things like we're doing with like Abran's doing or Sophia's doing. I can show you Twin Protocol a little bit later. We need to train the world's AI to be empathetic, right? Females are great at that, obviously. We need to train it for indigenous languages. Otherwise, we run the risk of losing that. So it's a really important movement.
Would you mind going into twinning right now? I think that's probably a pretty good segue.
Here we go. Tell me when you can see it. So this kind of dovetails, Dave, into the entertainment conversation. If you go to my LinkedIn at Bill Inman, you'll see I run a weekly show called AI on the Rise, where I talk about newly funded AI companies. And I don't do the show. My twin does the show. So this is me. It was me, and this is my twin, and it does the show for me. And I do have a human in the loop assistant that writes the script for me. I actually curate it and check it and make sure it's right. It talks about newly funded AI companies. I'll play it for you. And this is like a short video on how we can basically leverage AI right now to do shows for us, to make posts, to make podcasts. So let me play this and you can kind of hear me talking. And again, I didn't say any of this. And I didn't write the script for this. This is all done with AI. I am Bill Inman's avatar with some exciting developments from the world of decentralized AI and indeed the broader AI landscape. This week, there was the announcement of 3 of the leading decentralized AI blockchain organizations merging to form a new decentralized AI power play. I won't play the whole video for you, but that's an idea of what you can do with AI today to get your own persona out there. And I have 5 new shows under development, and we have dozens of clients now. Deepak Chopra is a client. Russell Peters, the comedian, is a client. Sugar Shane Mosley, former world champion, multiple UFC fighters. And this is going to be their way to scale their persona and help people, because that's really what we're trying to do, is prepare all of their fans and followers for what's coming.
It's fascinating because I think what I'm seeing, at least from this, is the first time where you can see opportunity. Right? Like there's a learning curve if you don't know anything about this, and there's probably a lot of questions, social questions that you have when you start to think about it, about people being, mass segments of the population being replaced. But then what replaces that? And when you talk about $15 trillion new coming in, that means innovation, that means new jobs, that means new things to do. And is this one of them? Where I can have my persona hosting an event somewhere else, some other time that I'm not even involved in, and I'm working at another job.
Yeah. I would say, just to add, because what's been exciting probably over the last year is this, avatar representation. And I think that it's sort of looking at the model a little bit differently. If you are, let's say, an athlete, you think about what's happened in college athlete, world. You have an opportunity not just to do your one-to-one or your recordings, but this is a scaling opportunity. And I think it also, the next thing would be, what are the different areas that I want to focus on as a brand, right? I am a brand. Just going back to the blockchain, if I have an iPhone, I hold intellectual property. I think it helps us to take it, I'm like pushing on the creative side. It's like, how do I create a brand that is wider, that's much more interesting? Because I think the confines of maybe how story has evolved and gone out to the masses has been a certain way. And so I think, we're always like pointed to like, you should be this, or you should be this. But I think most individuals are a little bit more complex. I like rom-coms, and I also like tech, and so there's a way for you as your brand to even like scale that in an interesting opportunity.
Well, it's funny because I'll segue again with that, which is that we're getting a lot of questions about storytelling, I think, which both Christina and I have strong opinions about, right? And I'm sure Abran and Bill do as well, because every one of us is our own version of a creator. I think that what these programs are going to be good at right now is they're going to be good at a first draft, like the heavy lifting of writing something. And then you're going to have to edit, and you're going to have to edit a lot. And for years, what people said about screenwriting was it should never be called screenwriting, it's screen rewriting. So that process isn't different. It's the same process it's always been. You put in the prompts, you put in the ideas, something's going to spit out and it's not going to be right. Someone was asking earlier about soul and love and things like that. And it's like, no, 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 no. That all has to come from the user, not from the AI, right? Those pieces of the puzzle, just like when people make music, and Albron, maybe you can speak to this, like a computer can do a lot of the work for you. You can make a drum beat, it can do all sorts of different things, but it's not telling the story that's personal to you.
Yeah, I mean, so while we also talked about the upskilling and the opportunity here, there was also, some forecasting by, Sam Altman and some of the other folks around AI that says that we're going to see the first solo billionaire in the next few years, and I think if we're going to see an Elon as a solopreneur reach Elon levels because of AI, I think the same is going to be said with world building. So I think, the whole idea of like being a world builder is you need a whole camp underneath you creating your universe, right? You need a whole production studio. You need the backing of Disney. You need the backing of somebody to give you, a blank check to create your worlds and your universe. But I think now you can bring those visions to life with AI. So you can have this vision and from anywhere, right? You don't have to move to LA anymore. You can be in New Mexico, have this vision and bring these elements to life through these tools. So you're not giving credit to the tools the same way Kanye, when he has to give sample rights and sample clearance, he's not giving clearance to Akai or Logic or Pro Tools. He's giving credit to anyone that he might have sampled from a creative standpoint. So if you look at this as just a tool, the tool is still a medium of what your vision is. It's just it's enabling you to bring some of those visions to life in a way that wasn't possible before.
And I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle, right? Because all of us have had little videos we make and things like that, but you kind of have an idea of how you could make it better or whatever the case may be. And to one of the questions that was just in the chat, what is it bringing to the community? Well, what it's bringing to the community is an opportunity in a very cheap way, to really start upping your game without having the huge barrier of entries that exist now, to create something really cool and really different. So, and Abran, you and I talked about this yesterday as well, but maybe Christina and Bill, you can jump in. It's like, what are the current barriers of entry for low and middle class people of entering the AI space?
Yeah, I mean, what's what's amazing in the last, I guess you could say, 2 years ish, that the tools are available. I would love to see the tool subscription more available so that you're not, I think there's a lot of YouTube videos with content creators, like I just spent this amount of money, $500 a month, for these tools. And so that's sort of a cry out to the tool makers to allow for opportunities to actually play around with the tools. And so I'm on the advisory panel for Runway's 100 Film Fund. And that's sort of the concept as well, is that they want to hear different voices, give opportunities. You can get unlimited, an unlimited subscription or whatnot. And I think there's a lot of, B2C tools available. I think the other thing that's interesting, and I was really happy that Bill talked about it, is this new world, not necessarily new, but this sort of opportunity for ownership, the ownership piece. And I think there's a little bit of education that we're trying to instill, that you actually should retain your ownership a little bit more greatly than you think. I'm co-founder of Playbook, but also Playbook Aid, and that's really one of the driving forces, is that we're trying to instill the idea that you as an individual, you have your own intellectual property, whether you believe it or not. Because we were kind of trained to like, oh, I'll just upload it to this thing. And did you read the terms and conditions? Probably not. And you're okay with that. But I think the next iteration of someone who is, mid to lower income, they could, depending on their own imagination, create a complete world. They could just start with themselves, like, what do I like? And then use all the AI assistants to help in that manner. And then you take, I think there's some companies that are doing it. A dear friend of mine is the CEO of Llama One, and so they're looking at things to like enable a, a hub for the creatives to then, sell all of your IP to monetize in an interesting way. And I think those are very interesting opportunities that are maybe the next 3.0 from a either social media platform or like a YouTube, which is the current state.
I think what's happening is similar to what happened with social media recently with TikTok. So TikTok gave editing tools to basically everybody in the world, and that allows people to become content creators and leverage those tools to do more and reach more, and they don't need a big budget. So obviously millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, this is what they're growing up with. So it's important to adapt what we're building and what we're making to suit this new technology. So what does that mean for generative AI? Generative AI at a base level allows you to create a storyboard using AI generated pictures about your concept, and then you can sell that concept. Whereas before you had to hire somebody for $5,000 or maybe vest them in the project to basically do that. You can use AI right now to help draft a script. It's you. And again, talking about what Christina talks about with the blockchain element, you'll own that as you should, and there'll be copyright law around that. And obviously the ethics thing was brought up. So we're all for empowering technology, but you can write a script, create a storyboard, even create generative AI video samples that show your concept and use that to get a project funded. This is going to put you ahead of what people who are not using AI are doing and allow you to leverage this to your advantage. In the future, you'll be able to make a full production as an individual. Abran talked about there'll be billion-dollar companies that have one person. Well, there'll be movies made with one person, and don't be afraid of it. Get ahead of it. Like, this is your opportunity to take all of your creative thought and now leverage the technology and use it.
There are a lot of opportunities for what we would call AI filmmakers or whatnot. There's short film competitions, there's ad competitions. Our friends over at Curious Refuge, they are training folks as well as just allowing the opportunity, to get in there and to wrestle with the tool. The tool's not there exactly in the sense of like, it depends on where you want to fall in your creative endeavors. But I would definitely say if we're trying to do a one-to-one match on film, a little bit tougher, just because where it is right now. And so you are in a hybrid of like wrestling with certain kinds of, even just the way in which we make television or film is a bit different than even where the tool is allowing you to do video, so again, I had mentioned it before that I think artists, especially CG artists, that they want to have a little bit more control. And so there's a whole plate of different tools that they have to use in order to sort of get that. And we'll see, we're going to track that as it goes and see, what the best place in there. And it also provides opportunity for new companies to actually enable the artists, the tools restricted of this. We've seen that throughout, a lot of filmmaking.
Yeah, I just think we really got to be careful with like assuming that AI can't do something because the capabilities are getting really, really capable. For lack of a better word, I don't know if you all saw this week, the Coca-Cola commercial just came out. They came out with a AI generated Christmas commercial. And Coca-Cola is usually the standard for, the introducing, types of ads and narrative and storytelling through holiday commercials, especially. So, and they're jumping right in. There's tools, I have some examples here. We don't have to show them for short on time, but Wonder Dynamics is one that I show a lot in videos because it's a mocap. It's like automated mocap right from your desktop or from your laptop, where you can act out a scene on your phone with shot on an iPhone, and then drag and drop mocap over any character to turn them into an animal, an alien, a robot, and in real time. So you can really create. And I've seen some more. The tools are Runway ML, Luma, and like these different video generators. I've seen some really good trailers that have been submitted to like AI film festivals that are getting pretty good. But again, that tone, the creativity still comes from you and your prompts and what you input, right? It's good in and good out. So it's bringing those ideas to life rather than feeling like, oh, I need to get a storyboard artist or I need to get an illustrator to kind of like help me bring these stills to life. Well, now you could bring it all the way to a trailer or to a short film right from your laptop.
Yeah, I mean the short form short film. It's pretty amazing. Runway did like a 48-hour, and like you're just looking at this. Wow, these things, these different pieces were done within 48 hours. Whereas, it can take a lot longer in some cases, depending on what it is.
There's some things that you keep seeing that I think it's hard to understand really, but it's sort of like, there were many people who were amazing at typing screenplays, and they knew the format and they knew the formatting and how significant the formatting was until we came up with screenwriting programs. And then a whole bunch of people who didn't know how to type and the formatting suddenly started to write screenplays, right? They still had stories to tell, they just weren't good at it. And then the program helped them get better at it. And so, when we talk about the soul and the creativity of these things, nothing is being replaced with that. I think that we all hear this from time to time. There was a Ben Affleck clip that went around the internet this week about it, that AI is not going to be very good at taste for a while, right? And taste has always been the thing in our business. When you look at someone who has an English major who's making decisions at a studio to greenlight a project or not, it's not that they went to college and they have an English degree. It's that they have taste. It's that they understand what the audience will like 9 months before the audience wants to like it. That's why making movies was so hard, because you had to pick what the country was going to be interested in 9 months or a year in the future, right? And so what this does is it speeds that process up so that you can get to the market faster, so that you're closer to where they are now. And you have to think of this as a tool, right? And everything like a digital projection versus film. It's just a tool. What's the right tool to tell your story? And in this case, there are 100 tools being made in AI all the time right now. So this question is for the panelists. What happens in the next 6 months as AI technology innovation is moving so quickly? What are things you're doing personally to prepare yourself and those around you?
Well, I mean, I'll jump in on that one because I deal with a lot of different industries, not just the creative, but I deal with educators and marketers, and they're all trying to figure out like how do we stay ahead. But and Dave mentioned this earlier from an upskilling standpoint. This was mentioned several times. I used to tell people, upskill yourself every 3 to 5 years. That went down to 3 to 5 months at this point, because there's something always coming out. And don't make a judgment on something that you haven't tried yourself. You really have to go out there, try out things that are new products, new like beta, products that are out there, just prototypes. And believe it or not, they need you because they need you to break their tool or tell them the limitations of those tools. And that's how you get recruited to be an ambassador of something. For instance, Sora, those of you are familiar with Sora, which was the video generation tool created by OpenAI, everyone was like, where's Sora? Where's Sora? They went the opposite approach. They didn't go with just giving it to the general public. They are handpicking and curating artists, filmmakers, creatives to put it in the hands of and say, hey, try this out. break it, let us know its limitations, let us know what you think. How can this be helpful to you? Because they don't want it to be something that replaces the creative industry. They want it to be a tool for the creative industry. And the same way with Lionsgate now just partnered with Runway ML. So everyone is figuring this out now. So get your hands on these tools because sooner or later these studios are going to be hiring for people that know how to use these tools. Um,
Well, then
and they're
what's the
looking for
first
you.
stuff they should look at? What's the first stuff they should look at? Because we're getting a lot of questions about access and about things like that. And I think people said, I think we got Chat GPT for one,
Yep.
right? What other programs do you think people should start with?
Yeah, so Runway ML was mentioned quite a few times here. Runway ML, and then now at this point, there's probably a good 6 or 7 video generation tools out there. I could run them off. There's like, Luma, Pika, Hailu, like there's a bunch out there. But if you adopt one, you'll start to see the algorithm on Twitter or Facebook, Instagram sending you some other ones. Stay on top of the research that's out there. One thing that we did do that I think could be interesting to everyone here. Um, a photography team that had a stock photo company reached out and they said, how do we approach AI? I was like, look, you have a finite amount of shots that you have in your library. If you use one of these open source tools to train a model, an image model on your data only, then you now have 2 selling points. You could say, look, you can buy an image from my library, or you can use my AI generation tool that we trained ourselves to look for a shot or to create a shot that you want, that you're looking for. And it's trained on our aesthetic, right? So if you all are sitting on content, you're sitting on data, that is currency now. Bill is stressed that quite a few times. Your data is currency. And you can train something now with these open source models to create something yourself and then sell that and say, you can now trust what's created out of this video generation tool, this image generation tool, this script writing tool, because it's in our style and it's created and trained by professionals in this field. So you can trust what's coming out of it on the other end.
On those 6 months, the focus, I'm doing a lot of focus on education, and I'm on the AI task force for the Television Academy. So what's interesting about that is you have a lot of television professionals, and they're going through their feelings and how to approach this new technology. Everyone has to sort of make a determination on are they going to lean in, are they going to try it out, and really the my peer group that I'm the governor for, the Emerging Media Programming Peer Group, we want to at least allow for people to see the tool and play around. We had a session with actually Leonardo AI. And it's actually, if you go to the Television Academy website, I might be able to drop it in the chat. It's up, it's available, and we walk through it. We're doing the same thing with all the different other tools, trying to hit a bunch and really allow for education, awareness, and then a decision for the person to decide, hey, now I need to like play around with it. But I think the education piece is key. I'm doing the same thing with the mayor's office for Los Angeles is the upskilling. There's this, unfortunately, it's really the place of between physical, like I'm used to physical production. I'm used to like moving a light. I'm used to like actually being on set, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen. There's still pieces of that are being tested out in terms of how that then gets applied into, a text to video or text to image type of tool. But, it's really important to take a whole, slew of folks. And then in this case for New Mexico, it's the next generation. So you all, are at the same starting point as a lot of folks that are already in the industry. The only difference is that they have had the skills, they've had a craft that they are aware of. So their jumping off point is like they can maybe know what they want to see more quickly than maybe if you're sort of in discovery mode. But I think it's really, really important. And then I did mention Curious Refuge. They are a online, like basically an online filmmaker home. They do a lot of training programs and whatnot, and they're great. And what's important about that is there's meetups for people. So if you're wanting to get feedback, they have open hours. It's really good. You trade information on, hey, I'm doing this. How about this? And a lot of stuff is on Discord and whatnot. So I think we're all saying it's important to be aware and then just lean in.
Yeah, and I put one in the chat about Perplexity, which is a search engine, an AI search engine that is a super easy way to start learning about how to use AI and what it's good for and what it doesn't work at. And all of these things are accessible by a cell phone. So if you're talking to young kids that are 10, 12, 14 years old that are trying to figure out how to get involved with this, these programs exist on their phones. And when I do trainings and things like that in the third world, this is exactly what we talk about, because almost everyone in the world has a cell phone or they have access to a cell phone. They don't have access to laptops and to desktop computers and things like that. So the tools that exist so that you can download them and use them on your phone. Not that that's ideal, but it's certainly a way to learn and do it.
So the hat that I'm wearing, Angel AI, Twin Protocol just partnered with Angel AI. Angel AI does free credit repair, not reports. Angel AI that helps the underprivileged, even the unbanked, helps them get a mortgage. We're taking out payday loan, usury rate payday loan providers with Angel AI. And Angel Twin is allowing people to take that same concept of helping the world with their finances, make money with AI. So we want to get as many people in the world to start building their own twin and keeping and using their own data for themselves and to use in their own AI. So in the next 6 months, we're trying to reach as many people possible. We brought on Deepak Chopra, we bring on the UFC, we brought on Russell Peters, a comedian, because not for them necessarily, is to get to their fan base and help their fan base understand you can use AI and empower AI for you. And it starts with taking your brain and putting it in the blockchain where it can be encrypted and not taken. And then that becomes a training data for your AI. So we want to empower the world in the next 6 months to do these things with the tools at Twin Protocol and Angel AI.
And like I was just had a little side chat with someone as well. Like, is it a monster or is it a wonder? And it's both, right? There's going to be some displacement. There's going to be some people that have to find something else to do and have to go outside their comfort zone. And I think that is the scary part of this. When you look at it specifically with entertainment, what I will give you my opinion, worth every penny, is that a set that was 150 or 200 people is probably going to be 35 to 40 people in the next 5 years. I think that there's just going to be a lot less jobs in entertainment, but there are some things that will never, or for a long time won't be impacted, right? And surprisingly, storytelling is one of those things, right? That's one of the hardest things to do in the world, and it's not like AI is very good at copying what's already been done and getting very good at what has already been done. So when someone put in the chat, like people in our accounting are worried. Yes, if you're a bookkeeper, you're right. That's not a job that's going to last, right? Bookkeeping is a very simple, straightforward thing. It's mechanical. It doesn't change very often. Those are the kinds of things AI is going to be very, very good at. So it's not just entertainment that's going to be impacted by this, but the key is to approach it with excitement as much as fear so that you can find new things to do. Because, I think we talked about this, I don't know if it was Abran or Christina in our pre-call about when Elon Musk was talking about robo-taxis. Well, maybe for $20,000, you take a loan, you buy a robo-taxi, and your robo-taxi goes to work for you 18 hours a day, right? And you do other things, but your robo-taxi's out there, and after 2 years, it's paid itself off, and now it's just profit for you, right? So the opportunities to create and to earn and to do different things, what shouldn't be terrifying is that it's getting closer to you being in control of your own destiny, right? Where you don't work for some faceless corporation that is telling you when you can and can't go on vacation, or is your family going to have health care or things like that. You're going to have to determine more on your own. And that's always scary, but that responsibility is something that is coming closer to you every day now with tools like this. And I don't know what anyone else thinks about that, but that's my opinion about it.
Yeah, something I learned from Clara in one of her talks. She said that, AI is supposed to take away the things that you weren't meant to do anyway. She was like, you're not meant to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours making spreadsheets. She was like, leave that to the AI. Go do things that you were meant to do. Go do things that are more creative, that are more in person, in social environments. And before we get robots and robo taxis, you're gonna have Claras and twin protocols that are agents that are allowing you to be outside because they're checking your emails, they're responding to your emails, they're doing meetings, they're editing drafts. They're doing all the things that you would be doing in front of a computer to allow you to go back outside and do other things.
Right.
You just have to be comfortable to have that coexisting collaborative a relationship with the machine. If you fight that, then you're going to be one step behind the people who are being more productive in the field because they found a way to be cooperative and collaborative with AI.
I think we've been saying a lot to the group, and I think the next step is for folks to, after we're done with this webinar, to just start playing around. I think that's the key. Part of this webinar is to give that awareness, and then it's not until you actually work within the tool that you see what you can do, and it's really, really important from my perspective, for diverse voices to really lean in and have the opportunity to be a part of that conversation, to bring their voice to the table and allow others, and so that's the thing that's getting interesting is we've started to see it, when I was at Netflix, we started to see this amazing ability to bring in series that no one would ever watch. That's just one small aspect of technology and a platform that allows for that. So, and on mass market. And so I think for everyone, again, to be encouraged that they are a brand. There's ways in which folks have, again, know that you have your IP and be protective of that. And then also really start to lean in on the creative stories and be that I said it in the beginning, be that learner, that life learner, be curious.
Yeah, I mean, my personal mission is personal decentralized AI, having people understand that they are the best in the world at something and they can use AI to scale who they are and do good for the world. I'd be happy to answer questions personally, Dave. I put my email address in the chat a couple times, so anybody can reach out to me and I'll help however I can. That's what we do. So we need to take this opportunity to be a part of this new AI economy. It's scary. It's scary for me. I just took action. I didn't want to be left behind. So I put all my HR tech background, which you talked about before, into this and took risks and put my own money in. And the whole goal is to help people. And you can use this too. So I'm happy to answer questions directly if anybody has them and help however I can.
That's fantastic.